Good evening, and welcome to 30 Days to Freedom Becoming Authentic. This is our weekly teleconference. And tonight we're going to talk about opening your heart after the pain. Can you really love after heartbreak? And I know that's sort of a touchy subject, and it's going to be, something I want everyone, even if you listen to us in our archives and you don't get an opportunity to call in, that's fine. But I really would love to hear from a lot of you, even if it's just comments on our Facebook page, and make sure you check out our Facebook page, which is Facebook/Nikeema Lee Coaching. That's Nikeema Lee Coaching. Go to our Facebook page and let us hear your stories of how you've overcome hurt or your struggles with trusting folks, trusting people again, loving again, opening up your heart again, if it's something you find problems with. And the thing is that throughout my conversations with people over the years, I always find that learning to trust again is a really difficult thing, especially when your heart has been broken. And for some of us, degrees of broken heart are different, and we all feel like the way that I was done wrong is the worst way. But I try to remind people all the time that, there's always someone else out there with a worse story than yours. So even though your story is painful, you always got to look at it on the bright side of things and say, you know what, it could be worse, because there's somebody out there that's had a worse story than you. But it's about living past the pain, and it's first identifying that you are in pain. So how many of us know people who walk around with preconceived notions of men and women who, have this bitterness, this angriness towards people, and you can't quite figure it out. They're new friends of yours, so you don't know their back history. They're friends of yours, and things happen that they didn't tell you the whole story. But there's just some things that you feel like, okay, why are you so angry at everybody? Why do all men have to be dogs? Or why do all women have to be gold diggers? Or why do, all people seem to lie? It seems to be not just blanketed statements, but sometimes very, very passionate, objections to people. And you're like, gosh, why do they hate so much? Why is it so intense? Well, there's a pain there. There's a pain. And pain just doesn't come from our romantic relationships. Pain comes from our parental relationships as well. And we find ourselves in places where our parents have done us wrong from a childlike perspective, have hurt us mentally and emotionally. And we carry that hurt and we carry that pain to our relationships. And we say, well, I will never trust a woman because of what my mother put me through. Or I will never trust a man because my father was never there for me. Or I can never trust a man because my mother, could never trust a man when they were with her, and vice versa. There's always some sort of display of behavior that we learn from, and we learn from the people in our lives. We learn from our environment. We learn from our circumstances, and sometimes we don't even recognize that there is this level of bitterness. There is this level of disdain for the opposite sex. In some circles, in some psychological societies, a lot of people believe that's why folks tend to have same-sex relationships, because it's this sort of trauma that's been induced to them. I don't want to get into that tonight, but that is a school of thought that people honestly do think that. And it's unfortunate, but it is something that people think. What I want us to do first tonight is put our big girl, big boy pants on and recognize that we've been hurt, that there is something in us that we just can't shake, that we just don't understand why I hate men the way that I do. Can't understand why I distrust the women that I do. And if we give it an opportunity to really ask ourselves, well, why do I feel this way? Why can't I trust anybody anymore? Why can't I, allow that person to love me or to say that they love me and believe them, because they're always going to lie and they're always lie. There's this pattern. You hear it. If you hear that pattern in your head, then let's admit. Let's face the reality. Let's identify who we are. And in that identity, we discover that, you know what? I've been hurt. I've been hurt on such a level of traumatic stress that, Nikeema, you just don't understand how I've been hurt. And I'm here to tell you, I know hurt. We all know hurt. And there's a few people out there in this world that don't know hurt. And I'm not talking to you. This teleconference isn't for you. But this is for the people who have experienced hurt, who have experienced pain on an epic level. And I'm one of them. I'm one of those people. I've experienced traumatic hurt. And I tell my story all the time. 11 years old, you come home from school, your mom's packing her stuff, and she's like, I'm leaving. Just that phrase alone, I'm leaving and you can't go, smacks the very fiber of who I am to shreds. To shreds. To have to rebuild a life when you know that you're not wanted. And not to be not wanted by a friend, and not to be not wanted by a romantic like or a crush or someone like that, but to not to be wanted by your parents, by the one person in this world that fit here or built here or welcomed you or whatever the situation is. And there are so many people, especially in the generation where there was a lot of crack cocaine in our neighborhoods, and for those who didn't grow up in, impoverished neighborhoods, for those who have parents who worked 70 hours a week and were never there for them, parents who, always were at their job, were always, with their friends, who were neglectful, who drank alcohol was their drug of choice, prescription drugs were their drug of choice. Not everybody comes from an impoverished neighborhood, but everybody, in some respects, and I shouldn't say everyone, but many people experience neglect and abuse by a parent. And that neglect and abuse shapes us. It shapes us in a way that we tend not to be able to create. We tend to not to be able to remove ourselves from the product that we've become based on those circumstances. And it's a hurt. It's a hurt. I remember my first husband. It was a really quick relationship, happened super fast. 6 weeks, we were married. Met, hey, hi, let's get married. It was what it was. And it took me, personally, about a year and a half to really figure it out. To really say, okay, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to attach myself to. I'm going to be authentic and unique, and I'm going to be myself, and I'm going to let them in, and I'm going to put forth the effort. I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to, I made the commitment about a year and a half in. And by then it was too late. So when the relationship dissolved, and there was other women in the picture, and I felt the deepest level of betrayal. Like, I'll never love again. I'll never open my heart again. I'll never, ever, 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 ever let somebody into me and let somebody see me that way. See me for who I really am. I'll never do it. And it took me about, let's say,